It has been raining heavily for 24 hours. The sweltering summer heat combined with the humidity makes it difficult to breathe in these conditions. A frail-looking youth held an old AI mobile phone. He was fiddling with it for a long time before the phone finally let out its distinctive startup sound. After switching it on, Lin Yuan logged into the Fey website that he frequented. He found himself with over 99 notifications, and he only replied to one question. Someone asked for a solution after getting bitten by a ghost shadow-bristled spider. Lin Yuan answered it in a casual manner. Don't panic after being bitten. Soak hot water with woad and drink it, then clean the wound. While looking through all sorts of fancy replies, suddenly, a black cat pounced on his legs. Immediately afterwards, a green bird landed on Lin Yuan's shoulder. He put down his phone and asked the black cat lying on his lap, "Genius, what's the temperature in the shop right now?" The cat jumped onto the floor and replied, "The room temperature is 34 degrees Celsius. Time to ventilate the heat." Lin Yuan answered and opened the window. The early morning sky had already lit up. At that moment, the black cat spoke again. "Lin Yuan, eat your medicine first." The cyan bird brought over the medicine tablet with its beak. Lin Yuan took the pills handed by the bird and gulped them down with a glass of water. The cyan bird then started a song involuntarily, but Lin Yuan stopped him. 100 years after the awakening of Reiki, these types of talking cats and singing birds, almost everyone has one. The cat was called Genius, and it was the 100 Questions Beast. But this black cat is much skinnier than the other 100 Questions Beasts on the market. It looks malnourished. The boss selling the spirit pet simply offered a 50% discount, but seeing that Lin Yuan was hesitant to buy it, he gave Lin Yuan a toned bird that couldn't sing. Now, this one's called Chimey. The sound bird was able to sing one song now. After consuming the medicine, Lin Yuan walked to the flower racks and carefully took down the black cloth that covered them. 5 succulent lotus flower-like plants were growing in the pots. The leaves of one of the plants had softened due to the hot weather, and Lin Yuan couldn't help but sigh when he saw it. When is this scorching weather going to end? The jasmine lilies were a therapeutic plant. If its owner accidentally cut their finger when chopping ingredients, they simply had to put a jasmine lily at the bedside, and by the next day, the cut on the finger would be completely healed. The jasmine lily was a fey of the lowest grade, easily overlooked, but can be tested to reach the bronze threshold. Lin Yuan carefully tended to the 5 pots of jasmine lilies by burying nutritional minerals into their soil. The shop also has normal 1 phase called usni each day. These pots of usnias would give around 101-meter-long vines for Lin Yuan. To maintain my daily life, I still have to rely on these usnias. After Lin Yuan cleaned up the dust, this little face store started its operations as usual after the morning rain. When Lin Yuan opened the store, it was just a few minutes before 7 a.m. Lin Yuan felt a wave of dizziness in his head, and it was getting stronger and stronger. Yuan, go to the chair and sit for a moment. The cat gently massaged Lin Yuan's head with the soft pads of his paws. Lin Yuan then pulled himself together and then hugged the cat in his arms and stroked the cat with his white fingers. "Genius, you don't have to worry about me. I probably didn't sleep well yesterday. As long as one could find a senior spirit chi professional, he could treat all the ailments." But the cost was more than 3 months of Lin Yuan's income. "Little Yuan, didn't I tell you to rest more? Don't open the shop so early." The speaker was a middle-aged woman who carried a wooden box and then said, "It's the same as always. Auntie Zhang, I've told you many times, you don't need to bring me breakfast when you come over." As he spoke, Lin Yuan had already gone to harvest usnia vines. Auntie Zhang looked at Lin Yuan's back and was heartbroken. As an old neighbor, Auntie Zhang had been watching as Lin Yuan had no choice but to become independent at the age of 12 to support this store in order to provide for himself and his younger sister. "If I opened the shop later in the morning, you wouldn't be able to buy such fresh usnia vines," he said. Auntie Zhang understood that this youth had his own principles. Be it the opening of the store at exactly 7 a.m. each day, or how he stubbornly insisted on putting energy ores in the usnia's soil. Auntie Zhang left behind 75 Federation dollars before turning and walking to the entrance. She said before leaving, "Little Yuan, your uncle especially baked the flat sesame bread and mung bean milk for you." When Lin Yuan saw the extra 25 Federation dollars on the table, was about to call out to Auntie Zhang. Suddenly, his dizziness intensified and he fainted. Auntie Zhang was walking to the door when she heard a loud bang. The sound bird and the 100 Questions Beast let out anxious cries. Auntie Zhang quickly turned around and noticed that Lin Yuan had collapsed and his face looked calm, as though he was sleeping. After fainting, Lin Yuan gradually awakened in a strange environment. His mind flashed with the face of his younger sister, Genius. and chimey. If he died, he didn't know how heartbroken his young sister would be. It was fortunate that he had already saved up enough to pay for his young sister's school fees for next year. Lin Yuan's consciousness traveled here for a long time. Suddenly, at the end of the land of chaos, Lin Yuan saw a copper bracelet. This bracelet is Lin Yuan's secret. This life was actually Lin Yuan's second life. When he was reborn, this copper bracelet stayed with him. However, it had accidentally gotten smeared by his own blood and mysteriously vanished. The copper bracelet is glittering at the moment, waiting for Lin Yuan to arrive. It was a kind of intangible calling, yet it was also the most congenial type of calling. It was just like how fate subtly had guided Newton to the apple tree. Just as Lin Yuan's consciousness crossed into the simple copper-colored ring of light, the light rings suddenly lit up with mottled and complicated patterns. Lin Yuan felt the presence of spirit qi, which made him feel extremely relaxed. At the age of 8, the bronze bracelet was stained with his blood and disappeared without a trace. When the copper bracelet disappeared, it took away not only his sense of the world's aura, but also his spiritual energy. Although his spiritual power was depleted, it was he who could feel the presence of the spirit qi. After the spirit qi awakening, spirit qi had become this world's most fundamental energy. As for humans, they had also developed spirit qi occupations under the influence of spirit qi. Lin Yuan realized that his body was like a funnel. The spirit qi couldn't stay on his body. Over the span of a year, he would be able to save up a huge sum of money. His young sister was already coming to the age that she could form a contract with her first fey. In fact, he might be able to purchase a low-tier elite fey. Feys were sorted into healing type, offense type, defense type, and support type. A regular person would be able to form contracts with 2 to 3 feys in a lifetime, and prodigies might be able to form up to 5 contracts. One's strength would undergo a significant increase with each additional fey. Relatively speaking, the resources required for each evolution were far beyond what Lin Yuan, a small hotel owner, could afford. Back when Lin Yuan had formed contracts with domestic feys like the 100 Questions Beast and the Sound Bird, he had fainted and had been unconscious for 3 full days. This copper bracelet had been transferred to this world with him, and Lin Yuan couldn't help but have complicated opinions about it. At that moment, Lin Yuan could only feel his feet stepping on the ground's hard surface. The ground was copper in color within this spatial zone, and there was a 5-meter or 6-meter pool. When Lin Yuan walked to the poolside, he noticed that the water was extremely clear. Lin Yuan crouched down and scooped up a handful of water. While pondering, Lin Yuan felt his wrist area becoming heavy. The bracelet wants to communicate with him like a child. It turns out that this copper bracelet, which transmigrated with me, is actually a fey. He also understood why the copper bracelet had been silent and had not communicated with him for 10 years. The copper bracelet had been trying to protect the 8-year-old Lin Yuan, who hadn't had powerful spiritual energy. Thus, it had chosen to hibernate. The hibernation had slowed down the contract's forming, so it had taken 10 years to form the complete contract. Today was also the day when the copper bracelet awakened. The youth then said with a gentle and mild voice, "Pleased to meet you, Morbius. After forming a contract with humans, yokai will have an ability. Even if a person were to form a contract with a normal jasmine lily, they would get a healing ability. A yokai that rises to the bronze level will awaken its exclusive skills. In order to form a contract with a fey, one needed spiritual energy, as it could fuse one's soul with the fey's soul. Morbius is very weak now." Lin Yuan was observing Morbius as he wanted to check its attribute. As an ordinary yokai, Morbius not only has one ability, but also has an exclusive skill. In other words, Morbius will have dual exclusive skills when he evolves to the bronze level. Only when someone nurtured a fey into a fantasy breed would it possess dual exclusive skills. Fantasy breeds were in another league. Lin Yuan used Morbius' first ability. He looked at Morbius and realized that all information had been presented in a data format. Exclusive skill. Morbius' spatial zone can be used to nurture feys. Whenever Morbius increases a grade, it will be able to nurture one more fey. Lin Yuan's smile froze on his face. "This is a goddamn fraud. Morbius is a normal I-1 fey right now." Lin Yuan no longer had any resources to raise another goblin. The investment and return are not proportional, and the return will only be the initial and basic ability of the contracted yokai. However, Lin Yuan's optimistic attitude adjusted soon. The trouble-filled past should be forgotten as the future path was bright and dazzling. Just as Lin Yuan was adjusting his mentality, Morbius transferred a rather faint strand of spiritual energy to his mind. The strand-like spiritual energy in his mind suddenly increased by over 5 times. Unfortunately, it is only slightly thicker than a strand of hair, not even a tenth of a normal person. Nonetheless, this spiritual energy amount was enough to form a contract with a normal I-Fey plant. It was probably insufficient to form contracts with animals. According to general knowledge, contracting animals would require more spiritual energy than to contract a fey plant. After receiving the spiritual energy, Lin Yuan felt Morbius becoming weak. Everyone said that feys had spirituality, and once they formed a contract with a human, the fey would stay with the human for an entire lifetime. Lin Yuan didn't have a chance to experience it before, but after witnessing Morbius' actions, Lin Yuan immediately understood the statement's significance. From now on, they would be interdependent until death. Morbius fell back into a deep slumber after transferring its spiritual energy. Lin Yuan carefully observed the spatial zone he was in. The exclusive skill, Spirit Lock, mentioned in the place to cultivate elves. Lin Yuan heard a familiar voice calling him anxiously, and Zhang eagerly inquired about the Dr. Lin Yuan's condition. The 100 Beast made a cat sound beside Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan had suddenly fainted, Andy Zhang, Genius, and Chimey had all been shocked. Lin Yuan's consciousness returned to his body and slowly opened his eyes. He then saw Auntie Zhang constantly questioning the doctor, which made the doctor's forehead sweat profusely. When the 100-question beast saw that Lin Yuan was awake, it rubbed his body against his neck. Aunt Zhang also ran over to care for Lin Yuan after seeing Lin Yuan wake up. Lin Yuan is very grateful to Aunt Zhang for taking care of her over the years. Aunt Zhang's concern made Lin Yuan feel very warm. Aunt Zhang was still not at ease and asked the doctor to treat Lin Yuan with Chitang Carp. The treatment went very smoothly and also activated Mobius' skills. Its properties are described in detail above. Lin Yuan was very surprised. It turned out to be an elite monster. Clear pond carps, their initial abilities would be physical ones, such as tail lash or fin flap. Unexpectedly, when this clear pond carp had reached elite grade, it had awakened the rare ability, Clear Scales. It allowed the clear pond carp to transform into a dragon and obtain an uncommon spirit healing ability. By the time the treatment is complete, more perspiration appeared on the doctor's forehead. You need to rest and eat nutritious food. You will recover quickly. As he spoke, the doctor was about to wipe his sweat with his sleeve when Auntie Zhang handed over a tissue. Doctor, it has been hard on you. Please clean your sweat with this. The doctor thankfully took the tissue and said, if there's any more discomfort, please press the call button. After saying that, he smiled and walked out of the ward. Lin Yuan said weakly, Auntie Zhang, I'm really sorry for disturbing you for the whole day. Don't be polite to me. I've watched you grow up after all. After saying that, she took out 500 yuan and put it in Lin Yuan's hand. Holding back tears, Auntie Zhang said, go back and bring me a pot of jasmine lily and keep the rest of the money. Lin Yuan couldn't even refuse first. When he got home, the sound of thud, thud, thud echoed in his ears. A huge rabbit ran out, which was Auntie Zhang's contracted fey. It was also Genius and Chimey's mate. It brought a blue parcel in its mouth. Lin Yuan examined the rabbit and found it unusual.